Hello, everybody. So, MercadoLibre reported earnings today for their Q1 2023, and the earnings were great. I titled the video, Growing Like a Weed. This company keeps growing, steady Eddie, high growth rate, and really everything's doing well. There is no red flag whatsoever. There's not going to be much to say in this video. I went back and looked at the revenue numbers each quarter over past 5 years, as you can see. And, I usually like to look at quarter over quarter growth, so from Q1 to Q4. The problem is that when you have a company that's in retail, typically Q4 is a great quarter, and Q1, is kind of like getting away from the holidays and back to standard retail. But they've shown a little bit of quarter over quarter growth between Q4 and Q1, but that increase is very similar to what they've shown in other quarters. This was last year, Q4 to Q1, the year before that, Q4 to Q1, and the year even before that, Q4 to Q1. So they've even have quarters where they actually show down, like a downturn in sales from Q1, from Q4 to Q1. So they increased this time. This is as accurate as I could draw it here, but that's a great thing. Furthermore, of course, what most people report on is the year-over-year growth. And the year-over-year growth on a forex neutral basis is 58%, which is absolutely outstanding. But we have to be careful with MercadoLibre because they operate in Argentina. And because of that, we're going to have flawed FX neutral growth numbers. We have to look at the USD constant currency number, and these are at 35%. So the real growth rate of this company is 35% if you are a US investor buying this company as a US investor here. Now, there's two main reasons why there is such a delta between the forex neutral growth and the only 35% in USD. First of all, there is a little bit of that has to do with the dollar, and the dollar has been strong. They keep raising rates. They raised rates again today, so the dollar is strengthening, and of course the dollar is kind of the only currency doing that right now, which is why it's getting strong. This is not MercadoLibre's fault. Actually, the Brazilian real, Brazil is the number one market, is pretty stable, and I believe with Lula we might have some positive headwinds on the currency because the Brazilian currency might be going back up relative to the US dollar. There's been a lot of calls to drop rates in Brazil. And of course, the US, I believe, is part of my thesis, is going to have to drop rates soon if the bank crisis continues to spread. What hurts MercadoLibre is Argentina. Argentina as hyperinflation. They've actually had 100% this year, 100% inflation in Argentina. So if you look at Argentina here and you remove 100%, you get the actual growth rate in Argentina, which is closer to 50%. So be very careful when you look at this company, and when you look at the forex neutral number, you have to remove the inflation in Argentina, which is absolutely insane. No, they did not grow 151% in Argentina. They grew about 50% in terms of shipments, but of course in volumes is going to show this much because of inflation, over there, inflation being so high. What else is good? Well, the gross margin. It's as you know, gross margin is what I care the most about my growth stocks. I don't want them to have earnings now. I want them to keep reinvesting in the business, to keep the growth, right? I want MercadoLibre to be the leading e-commerce player in every single country in Latin America. Thus, I want them to keep investing in the business. That's why I only look at gross margin. MercadoLibre's gross margin is going up, absolutely outstanding at 50.6%, so well over 200 basis points of increase for MercadoLibre's gross margin. Great direction. Nothing more to say about that. Like I said, this company is a steady Eddie kind of company. It's almost a company you can forget about. Sometimes you do, because there's not much going on. They're the leader. They're the best. Total cash is 3.5 billion, and they have a little more debt at 5.5 billion, so they want to have a little leverage. But interestingly, they've increased their leverage ratio, so their leverage has gone down. As you know, I'm typically not a big fan of debt, although for this company, the numbers are similar enough. At a leverage ratio of 1.25, I'm perfectly fine with that. That's okay. They have a little leverage in the business. It helps their return on equity. That's okay, but they are penalized in my spreadsheet for that debt, but the company seems okay with the debt and seems committed to paying off the debt. And when I look at the valuation, I actually still find that MercadoLibre is in my first quartile of cheapest stock, and that's probably because even though they're probably the best Latin American stock right now in my view that you can buy, they are still suffering from that curse of Latin American stocks who are very, very cheap, and I personally don't understand why. I think Latin America is an opportunity, but if you look at my spreadsheet. Again, enterprise value 65 billion. Analysts have dropped their growth expectation to 32%. So I've modified that in my spreadsheet. Gross margin is 51%, right rounded up. And you can see that it's trading at an enterprise value to gross profit of 11, under EV to forward gross profits of 8.5. And this is the most important metric, right, which is my enterprise value over gross profit over revenue growth. This is a spin on the PEG ratio of Peter Lynch. The question that I'm asking when I calculate this is how much am I paying for each percentage of forward growth? For each percent of forward growth, how much am I paying right now? And you can see that MercadoLibre is actually much, much, much cheaper on that growth adjusted metric than, say, Shopify. It's a little more expensive than C Limited, but C Limited is in Indonesia, entirely different market, and they have a gaming division that is not doing too well, so the comparison is all the same. I'm trying to compare it to other e-commerce stock. But anyways, what I will say is that business execution for MercadoLibre has been stellar, keeps being stellar. This stock, believe it or not, went down to something like 600 and change at the bottom of 2022. So absolutely insane what has happened with this stock. It's way back up, and it will keep going back up in my view. And when I look at some of the other positive of the stock is, of course, the short interest is only 2%. So what that tells me is that few people actually bet against MercadoLibre on the one hand. And then, of course, the biggest risk, and I agree with some analysts on this, the biggest risk is Argentina. 24% of their sales come from Argentina. This is a chart of the Argentinian or the Argentine peso and the Argentine peso against the dollar, and you'll see it's just consistently losing value, and it calls for special ways of doing business when your currency is getting cut in half every single year, and they've been navigating this tough environment in Argentina pretty well, but it's still a problem. And there could be a catalyst when you look at Argentina and the Argentine situation. The IMF is trying to get inflation under control here, and they're investing in the government over there, and they're trying to work on their monetary policy, and they're trying to reduce. The program seeks to improve governance and reduce persistent inflation. So if they reduce this inflation, this will no doubt benefit MercadoLibre, in my view. Let me finish with the quote-unquote at-a-glance number. They kind of provided all of the numbers for us here, and feel free to pause in the video. But you can see that everything is up. I mean, gross merchandise volume in dollar amount is up. Not dollar, but in currency amount is up. The items actually shipped is up. The listings are up. Transaction volumes are up. Again, they even have an asset under management business with their fintech division, which is way up. They have a credit portfolio, which is slightly up. They did say in the letter that they were cautious in their credit portfolio. Important to note, MercadoLibre has 100 million active users now, which is absolutely insane. It's really great. Revenue growth is up. Fintech is actually still growing faster than commerce revenues. So fintech is now becoming a major growth tailwind for that stock. Gross profit is up at 72%. Everything is up. So there's not much for me to say except that this business is doing very, very well. And e-commerce adoption is booming in Latin America, and MercadoLibre has found a model that resonates with the Latin American consumer the best. And this is evidenced by these numbers. I'm happy to own the stock, not adding, not selling, just owning it and being happy. I think this is a great company. Thank you so much for watching. This is not investment advice, just entertainment. I appreciate all of your likes, all of your subscribes, all of your comments, and all of your support. Thank you, and have a great day.